So a lot of raw foodists want to know what's wrong with nuts and seeds, what's wrong with avocados, what's wrong with oil, what's wrong with vinegar, what's wrong with wine. These things are raw, they're not cooked. They're full of enzymes and they're full of, natural things. Well, I've experienced eating a diet of high-fat raw foods, and I've experienced eating a diet of low-fat raw foods, foods that are comprised of just fruits and vegetables. And I can tell you that there's a major difference. I don't have to say another word, you can just experience it for yourself. If you're eating high-fat raw foods that are made from nuts and seeds, oils, salt, spices, dehydrated foods, these foods are trying to imitate the feeling and the taste of cooked foods. If you're trying to become a fruitarian or somebody who's eating natural foods for pure health, eating these processed raw foods, eating blended up nuts and seeds and spices, all these concoctions with 25 different ingredients, you're eating for stimulation. Eating these foods as your primary source of calories is not sustainable, in my opinion. I find that when I eat high-fat raw foods, I crave more high-fat raw foods. It slows down my digestion, makes my skin oily, I have higher body fat, and I still feel I have the same emotional reaction and response to food as I had when I ate cooked foods. So I don't think that raw, high-fat meals are healthy. In nature, you wouldn't have a situation where you'd be able to eat such a high-fat raw meal. Maybe a couple times a year when nuts and seeds are falling off the trees, you could crack them open and eat them. That would only happen in a very short period of time in nature, naturally. So I think to have nuts and seeds once in a while might be okay, but to eat them as a meal all the time, it's not something that happens in nature. It's trying to continue the feeling and the reaction you get from eating processed, cooked, heavy foods. And also you should know that most nuts and seeds bought in stores aren't actually raw. They're dehydrated at temperatures that are much higher than what you think they are. If you try to plant these nuts and seeds, in most all cases, they will not grow. You can try it. They're dead. They might be sold as raw because they're not dehydrated or cooked at a very high temperature or roasted, but they are not alive in most cases. It's almost impossible for you to buy truly raw nuts and seeds in a commercial supermarket. So in a lot of cases, you're not eating raw food. In most cases, it's actually dead. So that's upsetting to hear by most raw foodists, but it's really the truth. If you pride yourself on being a raw foodist and you're eating lots of nuts and seeds bought in a regular supermarket, even if it says organic and it says raw, try planting them. They will not sprout in almost all cases. They've been dehydrated at high temperature. They can't be sent to market with high water content in the seed because it'll mold and it'll turn rancid. So that's another reality you should also understand. Nuts and seeds have their place, but in very limited quantities. Salts and vinegars, fermented foods, in nature, it's not found. Alcohol, I believe, is a poison. I don't see any benefit in eating alcohol, drinking alcohol, even though it's technically raw. Condiments and spices, it's not found in nature. You can't eat food on a regular basis if you've got to put some type of stimulation in it. If you've got to eat hot, spicy foods, or things that are salty or peppery, you're eating for stimulation, you're not eating for health. It's important to realize that when you're eating in a natural environment, you're usually going to be eating one food at a time. It's not going to be mixed with anything else. It's going to be in its natural state, fresh, full of water. And that's how I eat. That's what makes me feel my best. I've tried the other diets, tried them for what I consider a significant period of time to really test them. And I feel my absolute best, bar none, eating raw, fruit as my primary source of calories. So that's how I feel about high-fat raw foods. I don't eat a lot of avocados. I don't eat nuts and seeds almost ever. Certainly don't eat oil. It's a fractioned food. I don't eat olives. Feel my best when I'm eating no overt fats. There's plenty of fat in tomatoes and in lettuce and in all fruit. There's some percent of fat. It's usually around 5%. It's enough to keep you healthy, keep you running marathons at 2 hours, 28 minutes if you're just like me. So very proud of my athletic performance. My health is not something that comes to me naturally. I make my health. I go after it. So if you just think you can eat whatever you want and you're just going to be healthy by default, it's not the case. You've got to earn your health.